Hello, and welcome to the Slay Imposter Syndrome live coaching series. I am Cheryl McCreary, your executive leadership coach, and let's get down today and talk about how to get rid of toxic stuff in your life, specifically three ways to detox your life. Three ways to detox your life. So, a toxin, let's talk about what is toxic, right? What is toxic? What does that even mean? So, clearly, toxic is related to the word toxin, which is a poison, something that is poisonous, something that is detrimental, something that is harmful, that will harm you, will cause dis-ease or disharmony or disgrace, any of those things. And so toxic is can be ascribed to different things and areas of our lives. Toxic people, we're going to be talking about today, toxic thoughts, and toxic inputs. So, we're going to talk about three ways to detox your life. Now, how is this related to imposter syndrome? So, here's the thing: imposter syndrome is simply a form of toxic thinking. It is toxic thinking, right? Imposter syndrome, as I said in some of the other lives, imposter syndrome is a chronic self doubt, a chronic low self worth, chronic low self value, chronic lack of confidence, even when there's evidence to the contrary that none of that's true, right? That's what makes it imposter syndrome. It's like you have the evidence, you have the receipts that you're accomplished, that you're high achieving, that you are great at your job, that you have a lot of experience under your belt. And yet, still, this chronic, toxic thinking around self doubt. I'm not ready. I'm a fraud. Who's going to find me out? All those things, right? So, imposter syndrome is a toxin. So, I want to talk today about some other toxins that actually feed into imposter syndrome and how you're going to get rid of those. So, three ways to detox your life. Number one, the first thing is you've got to detox your thoughts. You've got to remove, right? If something that's toxic is negative and poisonous, you've got to remove those negative poisonous thoughts that run through your head at any given time. And maybe not at the moment that you're in the big meeting, or maybe not at the moment that you're sitting down with your big clients, or those toxic thoughts come up sometimes when we're just waking up in the morning. They overtake us, or we're going to bed at night. They overtake us when we get quiet. They overtake us. Those toxic thoughts that say limiting things that are not true, such as, well, you're not ready for this. Who do you think you are? They're never going to pay you that much for this. You're not good enough. You did this X, Y, and Z back in the day, and you'll never, you'll never be good enough, right? Those kinds of thoughts that make you feel less than, that make you feel like you're not enough, and that keep you powerless, frankly, right? Those thoughts that tell you you're not good enough, you're not ready, you can't do it, you're not as good as so and so. Oh, look at so and so over there. They're fantastic, right? So those toxic thoughts that bubble up to the surface, and sometimes we try to suppress them, but you have to remove those toxic thoughts. And here's how you can do that: you can delete and dissolve and certainly lessen toxic thoughts by pouring in positive thoughts, by doing things that are going to create positive thoughts. So you can use affirmations or power statements, I like to call them. Simple things like, I am enough, I am powerful, I am an expert, I know exactly what I'm talking about when I go into this meeting. I have done X, Y, and Z, and I absolutely can charge this much for my services. Right? So when you begin to counter those negative toxic thoughts with positive, true toxic thoughts, then you can detox that out of your life. And let me tell you, it takes practice, because those limited thinking, those toxic thoughts, they are sort of woven into our brain chemistry, woven into how our brain operates. We have neural pathways in our brain that really support those toxic thoughts. And so it takes a lot of practice and reps and inputs of positive thinking, of true statements, of power statements, particularly I am statements. I am enough. I am powerful. I am an expert. I am ready. Right? Those kinds of statements repeatedly literally begin to reshape your thinking, and they will reshape your experience. So that's one thing that you want to do, is to detox your life, is you got to detox the positive thoughts. And it's sort of the same thing when we do a detox for our bodies, right? When we do a detox for our bodies, we stop taking in the toxic stuff, and we take in things that are going to cleanse the body, or we don't take in anything at all and let the body cleanse itself. So it's a similar process here. So let's talk about another way that you can detox your life, and that is by eliminating toxic people. Now, this one can be difficult because emotions come up. We have attachments to people. We may be related to toxic people. We may have grown up in toxic environments. We may just like toxic drama. We might be addicted to toxic drama and toxic people. We're drawn to them. In fact, there's this wonderful quote. It's unknown. And it says here, it's not your job to detox people. It's your job to detox the part of you that resonates with their toxicity, right? So you can't change people out there. And many times we go into, we think our toxic boss or our toxic coworker or our toxic significant other or friends, oh, we can change those people, right? No, you can't. No, you can't. What you can do is heal that part of you and to detox the part of you that resonates with their toxicity. So, what does that look like? What does that look like? Well, I think it looks like scanning your environment. This is what I have my clients do. Scan your environment and just jot down a list of people who are toxic, if there are toxic people in your environment, and just jot down a list of their names on a piece of paper and take a look at that and look at, are there boundaries that you can put up? Are there barriers you can put up? Do all these relationships need to be in your life? Right? Meaning, not that you would be harmful or mean or anything to someone or disrespectful, but you can certainly decide, I'm going to invite that person out. I'm going to gently put them on the outside. Right? I'm going to engage with them less. I'm going to not go out and hang out with them, or I'm going to avoid situations where I may run into them. So you can do things like that to detox very gently, right? Or you may have to have a conversation with somebody and invite them out of your experience. And if you're in a situation with work or business where you're dealing with toxic people, you can find ways to keep yourself centered and non-reactive, and using your affirmations and keeping yourself centered so you're not reactive and becoming a part of their toxic drama that can unfold, right? So these are some things that you can do. But first, it starts with getting really objective and looking at a list of who are the toxic people and relationships in my life, and how do I want to navigate those? What's the plan I want in place to remove them, to move them further and further and further away from the center of my being so that I can continue to level up, right? So let's talk about the third way to detox your life, and that is by detoxing what I call toxic inputs. And I'm going to say specifically social media. So here's the thing about social media. Social media, things go viral. The negative things that go viral are when you click on, the way social media works is the more you click on something, or the more people click on a certain thing or watch a certain thing, or eyeballs are on a certain thing, then more of that gets put into the social media feed, right? There's rewards. It's sort of like, where your attention flow, energy goes where your attention flows. So if you're focused on negative media, reading the news, toxic stories, gossip columns, gossip blogs, all of this sort of negative stuff that can swirl online. If you're engaged with that, watching that, looking at that, focused on that, commenting in that, then you are involved. You're having all these toxins from the world input into your thought, into your experience, into your mindset. And that injection of negative, toxic soup that comes from the internet is absolutely going to feed your imposter syndrome even more, because what that toxic soup does out there, the toxic media and social media, what it does is reinforce what that inner voice is saying, right? The toxic media is saying to all of us collectively, it's saying you're powerless. Look at these crazy things that happen. Look at this crime and this and this, all these crazy things that are happening. Right. So it leads you to believe you're powerless. And then if you're taking in all that junk, all that junk food into your system, into your mind, then that activates and really supports that imposter syndrome that says, hey, you're not good enough. You're not ready. What makes you think you can do X, Y, and Z? Right. And you look around on social media, you see all these negative things going on and all these powerless situations going on. And you begin to believe the lie, the falsehood that you're not good enough. What am I doing here? I'm a fraud. There's an inflation going on. There's all this stuff going on. I can't level up. This is not true. It's not true. And so you have to uh, decline distractions, decline the toxins, get off social media, do a social media diet, right? And decide, you know what, for 7 days, I am just not going to, if that sounds scary, for 3 days, I'm not going to engage in any kind of news site, gossip site, anything that is toxic, that's telling me toxic things. And if you need to catch up on the news, you can go for 3 days without knowing what's happening in the news. It's okay. Everything will be okay. So I encourage you to disengage, do a social media fast, get rid of stay off Facebook, stay off of Instagram, stay off of the gossip blog, stay off of YouTube, and just do a social media fast. 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, until you get to a point where you can have a healthy relationship with social media. Even for myself, I don't interact with I don't watch the news or anything that much. Well, really hardly at all, but I know what's going on. I just click on a news blog and I can see what's going on in the world really quickly and then be done with it, right? And not be pulled into the comments and the this and the that. And I find that when I do that too much, when I allow myself to read the articles and be in the comments and do all that, I notice the rest of my thinking, the rest of my energy, the rest of my mindset begins to shift towards the negative. So that is what you can do. So just to recap, to detox toxic thoughts, you're going to input positive thoughts, affirmations, power statements. I am enough. I am powerful. Number two, to get rid of or detox toxic people, you're going to make a list of the toxic people in your life and figure out how you can begin to invite them out of your inner circle so that you can have some peace. And then number three, you're going to detox from social media. 3 day, 5 day, 7 day social media fast where you are not engaging with that pool and soup of negativity that surrounds all of us. So if you do these things, if you begin to detox your life, you will notice your mindset shifts. You are now feeling, yeah, I am powerful. I am worthy of X amount of dollars. Yes, I can start a business. Yes, I can actually ask for a raise. Yes, it's time for me to get a raise. It's time for me to be promoted. It's time for me to start that business. It's time for me to run with the big dogs. You can do that when you're not weighted down with toxic energy, toxic thoughts, toxic people. So that is how you detox your life and also how you slay imposter syndrome. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next Slay Imposter Syndrome coaching series.